So today we're going to talk about one lesson plan called Spring Fling. It's for kindergarten through third grade, and this lesson plan talks about using the different senses, smell, hearing, sight, touch, and taste during springtime, because there's a lot of new activity going on in the springtime. We do this by going on a hike. We can take soil samples, look at temperatures at different sites, and we also have some activities to instill the five senses as well. And then to tie it all in, we have a Frozen Salamanders lesson activity that focuses on what salamanders do and how they warm up since they're a cold-blooded animal. And the objectives that we'll cover today are describing at least 5 things that clue spring's arrival. They can either draw or describe 2 springtime activities that animals do, and then another 2 springtime activities that plants do. And then they will also be able to predict the warmest and coolest places and the wettest and driest places around Suez during springtime. And then they will be able to also identify 3 sounds of springtime, like birds, frogs. So for this lesson plan, we have a lot of tools that we use. I'll just briefly explain which tools we have, and then as we go along, we'll explain them. First, we have the identifier, which can play bird sounds and frog sounds. We have some pictures to go with spring. We have a thermometer where you aim and take a temperature. We have a trowel to shovel soil. Collection containers. Shapes of spring. Color swatches of spring. We've got the Frozen Salamander film canisters, which will be filled with water. So a really good way to introduce this lesson plan and getting the kids to use their 5 senses is by after they tell their names to you, you can have them say, okay, look at me, have them turn around, close their eyes, and see my jacket is 2 colors. I could flip it inside out, have them turn around and look at me and be like, okay, what is different? For this lesson plan, the first activity you start out with is the Frozen Salamanders. They're just a canister filled with frozen water. And what the kids will do is find hot spots outside to place their frozen salamander. Good idea is maybe to flag it so they know where they put it. And you'll, later on in the lesson, go back and see if any of them has unthaw. The next activity that you can do is represent the colors of spring. You'll each give a kid a chip with a certain color, and they have to relate items in nature with that similar color. You can also reinforce it when you introduce the activity to them by saying, flowers come in different colors, grasses come in different colors as well. So the next activity will have to deal with shapes. You give a kid a secret shape. They cannot tell everybody what their shape is. They go outside and they have to tally how many shapes they have that they spy outside with their shape. And then they can come together and share what shape they had and what kind of shapes in nature that they saw. So the next lesson that we'll do is using every other sense other than sight. So you put blindfolds on the students. You take a minute to have them just kind of listen to sights or listen to sounds of spring, birds chirping, wind blowing, etc. And then afterwards, with the blindfold still on, you ask them, are any natural or any human-made sounds? Then with the blindfold still on, you have them go to a spot, like for example a tree, and have them touch the tree, smell the tree, maybe not taste the tree, but use. So this lesson will be at the frog pond, which is next to the fire bowl, which the frog pond's over here. And with this lesson, we have the kids use their hearing to explore different sounds of spring. Most of them will relate to bird calls, which we have an identifier with bird calls. But also at the frog pond, a lot of frogs make unique calls, so we'll have a frog identifier with sounds that they can interpret. For that example, that was a spring peeper that just made a call. All right, so we will conclude the lesson by revisiting our salamanders that are unthawing, hopefully. So the kids will collect their salamanders, and mine unthawed, so it survived. And so afterwards, with all these activities with this lesson plan, the objectives are, again, the kids will be able to describe at least 5 things that clue into springtime occurring. They will be able to describe or draw 2 springtime activities that animals do and 2 activities that plants do. They will also be able to predict warmest, coolest, wettest, and driest sites at Suez during springtime. They will also be able to identify at least 3 frog sounds and what type of species is making that sound.